Please stand to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Is there any additions or deletions to the board agenda? Public comment for related to agenda items. We don't have any. We have a couple for the open session of it. We'll get to that later. Students, superintendent's report.
No report.
Board members?
Not really. The mayor will give us their official piece of paper saying go ahead and vote on it.
Okay.
Mayor vote.
Really?
We'll know more about financial, how it affects us next month. You know, meeting with them real soon.
Yeah, it's coming. I don't know that they landed on an exact date yet or not.
So how many's left in the vault?
6, I think.
6 left. Wow.
Us over at Highland, Lake Station, Lake Ridge, and River Forest.
So Maryville had a large chunk of students with services, which would reduce staffing. So, you know, that could be an impact, but you still have overhead costs, fixed costs.
So they pull a whole bunch of kids out of there then.
It's 2 years, Lon. They have 2 years. It's going to happen in 2 years.
Oh, 2 years.
Right.
They had a whole bunch of kids.
Right. They got 27% of the kids in the system.
Really? Wow.
Regular business consent items. Approve the minutes of the meeting held on June 23rd, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Right.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 2, approve payroll and claims.
So we'll
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Personnel. Approved personnel report dated Thursday, July 14th, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
Also.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I would like to point out, we have a recommendation for an assistant principal for Lowell Middle School. And if I could get Gina, putting you on the spot, if you could maybe come over to the podium and just introduce yourself and give some highlights of your professional experience.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to introduce myself, but first I want to thank Mr. Anderson and Mrs. Cruzen for giving up part of their summertime yesterday to meet with me and interview me and welcome me into the Lowell family that I'm very eager and excited to be a part of. So thank you to them as well as all the members of the interview committee. I see some of those faces today, so it's nice to see you all again, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. My name is Gina Milcarrig. I come to you by way of Lake Central and Highland. I am really excited to get started in the middle school. I served as the Dean of Students for a few years in Lake Central's corporation at both the middle and elementary levels. And I taught the majority of my career at the middle school level, which is kind of my sweet spot. So I am very excited to become part of the Lowell family. So thank you again, and I'm really eager to get started.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, thank you.
So you also hired a band director?
Yes, we feel like we've latched onto a good quality candidate, some experience, and very excited to.
Where's he from?
So halfway between here and Indianapolis, coming from a high school down near Lebanon, not Lebanon. And so looking to get back closer to this direction.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, business operation. Number 1, approved K-12 textbook supplemental fees for the 2022-2023 school year at the dollar amount indicated.
So in your board packets, you had materials from the elementary school, K through 5, each of those grade levels. The middle school packet that had each of the grade level fees, plus the individual breakdown by the courses, and a massive document from the high school of every one of our courses that I've outlined the materials that are aligned to that class, plus the accompanying cost that comes to the parents. Here at Tri-Creek, we very much pride ourselves in making sure we have the most robust series of curriculum software, subscriptions, materials for our students at the best cost. So what you'll see in there is primarily comparable to last year. There are some increases as with inflation in any economy where some of the things that we've used year after year may have gone up a couple of bucks per student, but nothing substantial. The largest change in any of them is at the secondary level for middle school and high school. I presented to you the recommendation for math curriculum that we added Reveal and Big Ideas. So both of those are new titles, so you'll see a modification there. Because there are no other major curriculum reviews that happen on that annual basis, the other ones are still those that have been approved previously that are recurring. They are typically on a 6-year cycle. So you'll see those materials for 6 years until we go through the review process and then they get updated. Any other changes that you may have noticed would be for programs that we didn't previously have. For example, carpentry. So that wasn't previously in there because it's a brand new course. Otherwise, the fees remain the same for those classes, and if there's any additional curriculum subscription or materials, those are identified. So again, it's with pride that I think that we provide a very robust list of materials, both in print fashion and digitally to our students for a very, very reasonable cost per pupil. Dane and I are in the process of looking at other school districts so that we can see where we fit with what their fees are for like highs and lows, but also with the grade level teams where it's a little bit more static. Many boards like us are doing those approvals in July, so we don't have many copies to share with you right now because they haven't been publicized. So if at a later time, in late July meeting or in August, you guys would like an update kind of where we're falling with some of our neighbors, we could hold that.
Make a motion to approve the K-12 textbook supplemental fees for 2022-2023.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 2, approve the revised support staff handbook effective July 1, 2022.
Included in your packet, you have your recommendations. They were highlighted as far as some of the changes that we're recommending this year. The majority of the changes are language clarification, so it's not actually changing practice, but it's clarifying things a little bit more, tweaking the language a little bit. The major recommendation in this support handbook lies in the allocation of vacation time for employees. A major change we made last year with our handbook was front-loading 5 days of vacation upon hire for our support staff hourly 260-day eligible employees. So we looked at, that was the last year action that you guys afforded us here. What we're recommending in here after a year of working under that system is that we work into a prorated where they're earning that time for the days that they're here. We found this year, and especially with our wages and competitive wages in other areas, that front-loading those days, they would work a couple months, take their 5 days vacation as allocated, and then leave and job hop, and then we'd have to pay off those 5 days because that is earned time by definition. So this language actually excludes that as earned time, so we won't have to pay that if they job hop, okay? By definition, it's something we learned that we needed to have in here in order to exclude that. So that's the major language there, is just saying if you're not here for your 90-day period, that time is not considered earned, okay? So that's a major change in there. Everything else is just language tweaking. Are there any questions that I can answer or anything? One major change, and that was just the vacation.
So,
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 3, approve the equipment threshold for extracurricular equipment purchases.
This is at the recommendation of State Board of Accounts. They have a new opinion on extracurricular activity purchases. So this is purchasing that's done directly at the building that you won't see on your board docket. And that's the major thing with State Board of Accounts, that the board does not see the acquisition of equipment by these accounts. Of course, if the Booster Club, which is not part of extracurricular, accounting, but Booster Club purchases something in the equipment status, you approve it as a donation. But let's just say football, they raise those funds through concessions or any other means that they can do that. If they were to purchase a piece of equipment, the board's never approved that. Of course, it goes through an approval process at the building level through the principal, the athletic director, or the coach, including, there's multiple layers of approval.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I thought that all that money that was raised was supposed to go through the front office, and then they know where it was gonna go.
It is, and they know it, it's just never been brought to the board when they purchase something because the principals are managing it. So State Board of Accounts has a new opinion now on that. They say that Indiana Code 2026-4 says that the board has to approve all of property and equipment. And they've read that, and they say that includes extracurricular activity. So what their recommendation is that we establish what equipment is and what equipment means to us. The State Board of Accounts says that the Indiana Code is vague, so equipment could be anything, like a uniform, a basketball, those kind of things. So I would be bringing everything to you. So what my policy and what I'm recommending is that anything that's purchased out of an extracurricular account at the building that's gone through the approval process with the building principal and everything, anything that has a unit price of $500 or more will be brought to the board as equipment. So that'll scoop things like refrigerators, technology, drones, equipment, larger equipment to volleyball nets, larger poles and all that kind of stuff. It'll be the larger stuff that we will then maintain and make sure that it's on our asset controls. So it's bringing it to you on a monthly basis. Again, it will already go through the approval process of the coach and the athletic director or the club sponsor and the principal. It'll already go through that. No different than in past. I'm just bringing you an equipment list, and you know what we've got.
So you said unit price, right?
Yes, unit price is $500 or more.
So we're back at each month, you give us a listing of.
Whatever was purchased there.
Okay.
Okay, so I recommend that you go with the $500 threshold then.
That's why I'll make the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 4, approve the district treasurer $500,000, district deputy treasurer $250,000, district fiscal services payroll $150,000, accounts payable clerk $250,000, public office bonds and positional $25,000 bonds for the 2022-2023 school year.
So these are the bonds that we take out for the positions that handle high volumes of monetary value within our district here. These are the same levels that we had last year and the previous year as far as insurance on those positions for anything that might be mishandled. These are the regular public official bonds, and all the names have stayed the same according to last year, with the exception of our new Oak Hill Elementary treasurer, who is Kim Arnold, that you hired a couple weeks ago. So, that's the only change in the list, and that's her recommendation. It's the housekeeping thing every year.
So move.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 5, approve the request for cash change banks at Lowell High School in the amount of $300 for the 2022 school, 2023 school year for various extracurricular activities in the amount of $2,000 for the 22-23 school year for various athletic extracurricular activities.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Alright, we want to approve the proposed contract with Behavior Services of Indiana for the 22-23 school year.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to Mr. Deal here to open up the information on this item.
I had the good fortune of connecting with Katie Marash, who is with us today, as we were casting out nets to try to find consultants who would work with us on many of the behavioral needs that we identified coming out of the pandemic. It turned out to be an incredible partnership. We've shared with you presentations, as you heard from Principal Hudak and her team in the past, about her Bears Den, and just the celebration that she wanted to share about the profound impact it had in a very short amount of time. I shared with you at the previous board meeting about our desire to utilize and leverage what we learned from that pilot at Three Creeks Elementary School, and going into 22-23 school year, reach that out to Lake Prairie Elementary School and Three Creeks Elementary School, and Oak Hill Elementary School as well. So tonight what we have is a proposal that has been worked on by Mr. Anderson and myself, in which Behavior Specialists of Indiana would come in and work with each of our 3 elementary schools, and in that capacity they would be offering direct and indirect services to our students, to our staff, to our administrators, helping out with behavioral plans, directly impacting and building the capacity of those that are in the schools, and truly replicating the success we saw from April through the end of the school year at Three Creeks, but beginning at the very beginning of the school year, so that that program runs for the entirety of the school year. So a big part of that, as we've shared, will be supported by our ESSER funds. We're always looking for how can we get the most out of those ESSER grant funds that are brought to us to have an immediate impact in the short term, but also build that capacity for long-term returns, even when those ESSER funds aren't with us anymore. So I'm very excited by the proposal that BSI has shared with us today. Katie is here with us to certainly answer any questions, and also hopefully brag on a little bit of the experiences that she had being in Three Creeks so much, along with Dr. Deb from BSI. And we're excited, and I know the building principals and those who are aware of the impact that the program can have share that, and it will be a really good start to the school year to have these things in place right from the beginning.
Yeah, I can tell you in the circles that I run in with my administrative colleagues, this is a true multi-tiered system of support, where you have a true tier. Schools can do okay with tier 1, but when they get to tier 2 and tier 3, that's hard to provide. This definitely gets us closer to that. It's also exciting that Katie is a Lowell graduate, and she's on top of her game. You're here, you came tonight. Why don't you step over to the podium? I told her to bring her jazz hands with her.
No, I told Mr. Anderson earlier, I don't usually get nervous about stuff anymore, but this one got me tonight. So thank you so much for inviting me to speak on behalf of Behavior Specialists. I do have some pamphlets, one for each of you, and then I also have extras for anyone else in attendance who would like one. But basically, Behavior Specialists of Indiana has been delivering behavioral health services out of Valparaiso for 25 years next year. Mr. Deal mentioned Dr. Deb. She is the clinical psychologist and owner of BSI, and we're just really excited for the partnership. This is my personal dream come true because I am passionate about school. My undergrad was elementary education and psychology, and then I went on to finish my master's program in applied behavior analysis. So I'm currently a board certified behavior analyst, and then also the director of behavioral services at BSI. So this gets me kind of back in the trenches, and I'm excited to see that collaboration with schools. I don't have to tell you guys how important that is, especially coming off of COVID years and how much has changed and how much more support is needed, not only for the students, but absolutely for the staff. And that's one of the things that I noticed in my short time there was just seeing the staff come alive at times and really become more motivated and more confident that they're able to handle some of those situations that they didn't necessarily think that they could before, or sitting in a kindergarten classroom with a teacher and just discussing, hey, if you make a couple adjustments, just kind of how you have the room set up, or this little one is kind of a wild one, let's go ahead, just giving them those little tweaks and seeing the progress and having them pop by the Bears Den and say, hey, that really worked well for us. So we love the partnership, we love to help. We're really excited for where it goes, and if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So this is outside of like the special ed
Yes,
world, so to speak.
yep, absolutely. And we can offer services in our time at Three Creeks. We're able to collaborate with admin and offer suggestions for functional behavior assessments or students that were coming up for evaluation and things like that. We were able to offer some parent support during case conference meetings, just to kind of be there as that middleman between the school and the parent to help kind of explain a little bit in easier detail for them to understand what's actually going on inside the classroom and what kind of supports they are requiring.
The good thing about expanding beyond special ed, it's actually a preventive measure.
Right.
And so, if we can equip kids with the skills, the faculty with the skills to, for kids to.
I was hoping that would be your answer.
Absolutely. I mean, we offer individualized services, and that goes all the way from sitting in, a clinical session with someone to teaching those parents. We have that train the trainer mentality where we don't want you to come to the office for the rest of your life. We want you to gain skills and be able to maintain, and that's what we want for your teaching staff, is to be able to impart some of our knowledge and offer them the opportunity to ask questions and learn from us so that they then feel confident moving forward in that capacity, and hopefully we can expand even further then. So proactive, absolutely. That's probably the key word in all of this, is by us empowering the teachers and having more staffing on site to kind of catch those behaviors before they get to that point. I think admin had a big relief towards the end of the year. There was less running around and dealing directly with some of those behavioral concerns, and they had the opportunity to do more of what they're there to do and support the teachers and circulate the building and not simply be running on walkies and going from one thing to the next. So that was very fun to see too.
I think the evolution of our partnership is worth noting, because when Katie and I first made the plan, it was very much about like training and building the toolkit of like the administrators and teachers. So capacity building, but it was very much about working with the adults. As the partnership kind of grew and she got the chance to be in our schools and got to know our administrators, that's where together they saw that opportunity for a pilot program that we will say is unlike other things that we've seen in schools. Truly a program like you would hear about for like Title I and pull-out services for academic supports, pull-out services for behavioral needs of these students that are going to be proactive, preventative, and helping them to stay in the classroom as much as possible. You don't see that. So another just major kudos to Mrs. Hudak and her team and Katie for striking where the iron is hot and saying we can do even more than what we originally envisioned this partnership to be, develop this pilot, and then with success replicate it so that we've got those that are really meeting the needs as they are. And I think coming in new to that partnership, for them to be willing to be adaptive, to make it a dynamic plan and kind of shift so that it was meeting the needs as they were identified, it really speaks to the strength of the partnership and just what a great collaborator there are in coming up with what's best for our adults and what's best for our students as well.
Lower special ed referrals, lower office referrals, lower discipline, lower burnout, higher academic achievement.
I'm excited. Very excited.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Motion approved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consent items. These are donations, I'll read them together. Number one, accept a donation from the Lowell Athletic Booster Club with an amount of $16,108.14 to help fund the Lowell High School Athletic Department equipment and uniform purchases. Number two, accept the donation from the Subaru of Indiana Automotive of Lafayette, Indiana, in the form of 2 cars valued at $25,500 to help fund the Lowell High School Vocational Automotive Program.
Remove
Second.
Any further discussion?
Subaru, does that every year.
do it around the state, you don't do it good enough.
Today's value? Have a motion second, all in favor by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Alrighty, public participation, non-related items. Darren?
First, let me say I regret that I missed a few meetings over the summer, but my daughter is a softball player, and I vowed that I would never miss a softball game. Any way I can help it, so that's why you haven't seen my face quite as much. I think most of you know me, and I think most of you know my concerns with the school systems. And I think most of you know that this last year that I've kept my kids out of school and chose to homeschool because of those concerns. This has been a very agonizing decision for us this year. I know to a lot of people it seems like a no-brainer, but for us, it required a lot of thought. I've reached out to numerous educators in this system who have promised anonymity, mostly at the grade school and middle school levels. And to be quite honest with you, I got a mixed bag of reviews and opinions, and it didn't make my decision any easier. Having said that, I recognize that there are advantages and disadvantages to homeschooling. I recognize that there are advantages and disadvantages to public schooling. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I am at 51%, 49%. That's how split I am on my decision. It's my perceived transparency of this board that I'm making the decision to put my kids back in the Lowell school system. I want you to know I appreciate what you do, and I hope the transparency stays going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Catherine?
Okay, my name is Catherine Johnson. I'm here to talk about SEL. I've been emailing Mr. Anderson about it. I don't know a lot about it, but I don't know. I'm confused about it. I've read some articles that say it's not a good thing. I've read mixed articles. I just think it's weird that schools are like teaching your kids like how to have relationships. I know it's a good thing, but I just feel like that schools should do reading, writing, and arithmetics. I'm still waiting for answers. Hopefully there's a presentation about it because I can't be the only one that has concerns. A lot of people go with the flow, but I just want to know what my kid learns in school. I don't know. I want to know more about it because my daughter's 8 almost, and she can't really tell me about it. I want to know what they're learning. If you do research, it's some people link it to CRT. I don't know. I'm really confused about it. I don't like it. I really want to just know what my kid's learning in school. I've researched it, and like I said, there's articles that say it's a bad thing. There's articles that are like teachers are not psychologists. I think it's great they're doing behavioral programs. It's awesome. But I don't know. Just let the parents be parents. Do reading, writing, and arithmetic. I'm not a teacher. It's a hard job. I wouldn't want to do it, but I just have questions. And I can't be the only one. I'm not really getting answers. Yes, I've been emailing you, but still waiting. I've been talking since March. It's gonna be too late. School's gonna start, and the damage is gonna be done. I will look at the curriculum. I want to know how to. I just want details, and it should be details like subtitles and stuff, not just we're learning my kids' relationships. I feel like it needs to be a lot more detailed. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but that's how I feel. Thank you.
The next meeting, school board meeting, will be Thursday, July 28th. Anybody else got anything?
I would just say, Catherine's probably not alone on her concern, and I've read articles, as she referenced, both some not so pleasant information and some information. We did the school safety town hall meeting. That was, I believe, a good thing. I would like to start doing more town hall meetings. In my correspondence with Catherine, I'm looking at September to do another town hall meeting, and I think SEL would be a great topic to present.
Meeting adjourned.